Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Issues at Hand. My name is Joseph Sabiti. My senior colleague Peter Chivazo is down. He's not feeling fine, and so he will not be able to make it on Issues at Hand today. We are coming from a background where the president, the head of state, spent the last week touring the Ankole region. He spent a lot of time in Kabale. He also went to the backyard of former Secretary General John Patrick Amama Mbabazi in Kanungu, and Mbabazi skipped that tour of the president. He was only seen alongside Prime Minister Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda. While in Kabale, he made a very fundamental statement, and he said he cannot hand over power to the opposition because they act like wolves and foxes that are waiting to tear the country apart. He also made mention of having support of the majority of Ugandans and as well as of the army. That is the statement we shall be making sense of on Issues at Hand today, and I'm privileged to be joined by Mary Mutesi. She is a practicing lawyer, and the last time I checked, she was one of the few privileged people appointed by His Excellency the President to organize the December 15th Delegates Conference. Welcome to Issues at Hand.
Thank you, my brother.
Okay, I also have Message Nuabine. He is a political commentator, very vocal on issues of politics. He works at the Center for Constitutional Governance. Welcome to the Issues at Hand as well.
Thank you very much, Joseph, and good evening, viewers.
All right, lady and gentlemen, that statement there is ruffling feathers in the political circles, and to make sure that we really debate in the actual context of that statement, I would call on the statement to be played once again. We listen to what exactly the president said, and what he said is what we shall be digesting on Issues at Hand today. Let's take a look at what he said.
Kwaje ngiki Museveni yagamba hakigwire ituntu bahabura nga ikikuru Museveni agende basijeho maze kutanya muze Uganda ngo ngende nsigira abanyayuganda emishege giye kuba nindeba nanyamba yatuga abanyarwanda abantu bakene ngumbe nimba yamba na yikingugende mumugende mumukoroka.
All right, the head of state, they are speaking in a mixture of English and Runyankore. He was speaking in Kabale, and he made those fundamental statements. I'll start with you, Mary. You read from the same yellow script, yes. Your political ideology with the president. Yes. When you listen to your head of state and party leader make that statement, did you find anything wrong with it?
First of all, I should say, asking me as to whether I found anything wrong with it, it's like asking a Catholic whether the Pope is the leader of the Catholic Church or not. Definitely the answer is well expected. But to me, the statement, it is not a new creation. We've heard of statements. I was just pondering about it this afternoon, where I had many people making a whole fuss about it. Then I remembered also in the Bible, Jesus, for those who are very good Christians, they remember that he said, be aware of wolves who may be dressed up in sheep clothing. And then also at a certain point, again, he told his disciples, you're going out there, but know that your sheep, whom I'm sending out to the wolves. So there is this whole imagery about wolves and about leadership, about the people. So to me, the president, I've not read the whole text and tried to put in context to what he was trying to say. But from the clip you've played and reading from the delivery of the speech, all he was saying is that as a person who ushered this country onto a different wave of democracy, governance, he has well then to take care of who he leaves the country for. That is precisely what he was saying. Okay.
Message, let's pick up your views on this very fundamental statement. This statement is made a few months to the general elections in 2016. And then the president says the actions of the opposition, he compares them to that of wolves and foxes, and he makes it clear he's not going to hand over power to them. What do you make of the statements?
Thank you very much, Joseph, and I appreciate where my sister Mary is coming from. And I would partly agree with her that someone can use a statement as an imagery of sorts. You're trying to refer to a certain point and you use certain examples and reference points. But I also want us to put this in context. We are talking about a president of a country, not a president of a society, Law Society, Makerere Students Guild, these other presidents that President Amini had chased around. We are talking about a president of the country, a fountain of honor, and a person whom everyone in the country literally looks up to. And this is a person I thought would be very, very conscious with whatever statement comes out of their billing. And I therefore would not simply rub off this statement and say either it was not as intended or something like that. Now, we may not exactly get the real intention and meaning of the statement unless we had the one-on-one with the president. But at the same time, politics is more about perception. So it's about what do the listeners perceive of what you tell them, as opposed to actually what your intention of uttering any given statement was. And I also want to appreciate the fact that, like my sister said, the president is conscious of who he leaves this country behind too. We must not get lost to the fact that majority of the people in opposition right now, we are actually part of the president's inner circle when he liberated this country. And if he could trust them then, when the situation was more volatile and precarious, he has every reason to even at least give them a benefit of doubt now that they can still do something. And remember, Joseph, in the same tour, you actually talked of Ankole. It was Chigezi region, not Ankole. It's okay. Chigezi region. In the same tour, actually, before he made that statement in Kabale, he had been in Ruchiga County, which is also part of Kabale district. Ruchiga County is represented in parliament by an FDC MP, Honorable Jack Sabiti. But the reports from that visit are that it was one of those moments that the president and an opposition leader were in very cordial and jovial moods at the same rally. Okay. And he went further, he meaning the president, to tell the people in no uncertain terms that Jack Sabit is one of the good leaders, one of the people delivering on behalf of the population they represent, and you know, some kind of a part
just on that note, message, doesn't that then bring out the objectivity of the president? He was in Ruchiga County and he spoke good words about an opposition leader, and then when he looked at the national leadership of the country, he seemed not to find someone fitting to be left in charge of this country. Does that speak a sense of objectivity? No,
yes and no, because when you are in Kabale and you are talking about opposition, the flag bearer of opposition politics in Kabale is Jack Sabiti. He's the elected leader that you have in that district. So in one meeting, you can't be complimenting him, and in another meeting, you declare him a fox that is not capable of leading the country anywhere. But two, you know, you're picking just one word, fox. But he goes ahead to say, these foxes that are going to tear you apart. Meaning, I'm a uniting factor, but these other people are probably not as uniting as they present themselves to be. And actually, one other thing about a fox is an animal that is so cunning that what it presents is not in most times what actually it is.
Okay, I would like to pick the views of Mary on that specific thought advanced by message. He seems to be reading beyond the ordinary imagery presented in the statements. What would you say to the thoughts he's expressing right now? He thinks a fox is too vulgar in politics to be associated with a decent politician.
Just assist me here. Is a fox the same as a wolf? Because I think he spoke of Emishege. Emishege means wolves. And foxes are different, ebibe. So in this sense, he was speaking of wolves. Wolves are animals that actually fall within the dog family. In other words, we can say these are the wild dogs in the bush. They present almost the same semblance like dogs, but these ones are a little bigger. They are beast-like. And
wild.
and wilder. So what the president was actually expressing, but without so much reading into that statement, I think my president was more tackling the topic of transition that everybody is preoccupied with. So his statement is actually insinuating a transition that the opposition is calling for, and that everybody has been criticizing him about, that the time has come for a transition to be there from him to another person, to another kind of a whole setup altogether. And here is the president making that statement and saying, you see, these people will tear you apart. So that means that whoever has ambition and whoever is actually thinking of taking this country onto another level, that means that the statement is a challenge to him. Let him or her demonstrate that actually my mission is not to tear you apart. Disprove yourself. Prove otherwise that you're not a wolf, full stop. Otherwise, if we've been having statements from people who are intending to take this country ahead after Mzee Museveni, when they are saying time has come when we take over, they shall pay heavily, and we shall see. And the statements that are being made, most of the ideologies that are being ridden on by most of these forces are, you see, we need somebody from a different ethnic ground. This particular ethnic group has over, ruled us, and therefore we need something, somebody else. So the president is actually driving to the very reasons that took him to the bush together with his people. And what he's saying is, if these people still hold the same view of ethnicalizing everything, tribalizing everything, they are still in this age and era looking at a leader in terms of an ethnic group, in terms of a region where they are coming from. And if those are some of the ideologies that are being held by particular leaders, and that is what they are advancing, then they are not worthy letting in, because they will tear you apart.
Okay.
And precisely that is his point. As I conclude on actually what my brother tackled, he also spoke he spoke on that, but also spoke on the unfortunateness of a whole president who is not a merely guilty president of a university and who can use such statements. Actually, those statements are very vital for any leader to use. Then we would ask, why would the whole savior call certain followers wolves and others are sheep?
Okay, absolutely. Mary raises a very fundamental question, the factors at play in the general setup of the politics of this country. A few months back, you saw the same tribal card playing in the FDC. It was played against General Muntu. And so when the president comes out to make a statement like that, does the opposition, in your opinion, in your independent opinion, actually have the moral authority to castigate the president?
I think let me first get something clear here. One, my reference to the president not being a guild president or an association president is not on the basis of us interrogating the specific statement the president made in Kabale. No, I'm simply saying any statement made by a head of state is worth listening to and interrogation. Okay. Any statement. Not necessarily a statement on wolves or anything. If a statement stands up to talk about policy issues, about the performance of the economy, it's worth that anybody should listen. And that's why I always don't understand situations where like the president is speaking and the opposition walks out. You may disagree, but you need to listen. so that tomorrow you know what exactly you have to challenge him on, in case you want to take a challenge of out of what he said. Now, that aside, there is an argument Mary brings in that I will be a little hesitant to delve in, and that's the ethnic question. Because I don't read any ethnic undertones in the president referring to the opposition as wolves. To me, it's a general question. There are no Banyankole wolves and Bateso wolves and Acholi wolves and that kind of thing. A wolf is a wolf, okay? And it has its characteristic. Whether you find it in the grasslands in Terego, whether you find it in the savannas down south, it is a wolf. So I would not want to look at any ethnic undertones within the context of the statement, as it were. And I don't think the challenge to the longevity or governance style or whatever of the current president has by any standards been judged on the basis of where he comes from. There could have been a few people who are saying, we are tired of one tribe against the other. But I don't think any sensible opposition party, any sensible civil society organization can stand up and say we are going to oppose a sitting president simply on the basis of where he comes from. None of us makes an application to be born where you're born. And it should never be a disadvantage as to your being in any position whatsoever. Now, coming back to what you just asked about whether the opposition would have the moral authority to critique the president. Again, on the questions of ethnicity, you said it came to haunt General Muntu. I'm not very sure about what specific reference you'd be making.
Well, just to clear the air, there were statements made to be particular by Major Rubaramirwa Ruranga before he crossed to the NRM. That side he was reading from the blue script. Yes, absolutely. And so it raised a lot of dust in this country. And so when the opposition comes out to castigate the president, the hard question is, how can you take milk and tell others to take water?
Now, Joseph, how do you expect me to interrogate comments made by Ruranga as comments that are coming from the opposition? Does Ruranga belong to the opposition in this country?
Back then.
No. Because
we have to look at the context in which the statement was made, Message.
Joseph, yes, Ruranga was chairing a campaign.
Yes.
But again, there's been a lot of questions back and forth as to what his intentions, even in that campaign, were. Because Major Ruranga, for all purposes and intent, had actually informed the leadership in FDC that for him he's tired with opposition politics and he's going back to his NGO work, and his NGO work has a lot of involvement with government, so they should not begrudge him if they see him working with. All right.
Message, you really hold that thought. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have just joined us, you're watching Issues at Hand, and we are discussing the statements made by the president during his tour of Kigezi. Earlier, I made a mistake and said Ankole, but it was a tour of Kigezi region. The fundamental statements were made to be in particular in Kabale. Issues at Hand takes a short break right now. When we come back, we shall be talking about certain parts of the statements. The president talked about the opposition lacking alternatives on wealth creation and transforming the country, and as well the question of the mention of the army by the head of state. For now, we take a short break. Issues at Hand returns in a short while.